There is a word the missionaries used when they first arrived on African soil. They wrote it in letters back to Europe. They printed it in pamphlets. They preached it from pulpits in London and Paris and Rome. The word was primitive. Not because they had studied what Africans believed, not because they had spent years understanding the cosmology, the metaphysics, the oral traditions that had sustained civilizations for thousands of years. They called it primitive because they had already decided that anything without a single holy book, without a single prophet, without a single god enthroned in a European cathedral, could not possibly be sophisticated. What Africans believed before Christianity and Islam arrived was not a collection of superstitions. It was a cosmology, a complete system of thought that explained the origin of the universe, the nature of consciousness, the relationship between the living and the dead, and the moral order that holds the reality together. And they called it primitive. This is the story of what that word was designed to erase. Before we talk about what African spirituality was, we have to talk about what the word spirituality meant in Africa before colonization, because it meant something radically different from what the West understands. In the Western framework, religion and life are separate. You go to church on Sunday, the rest of the week is secular. There is a line between the sacred and the ordinary. African spirituality did not draw that line. There was no word for religion in most pre-colonial African languages because the concept did not exist as a separate category. The spiritual was not something you did, it was something you lived inside. The Yoruba called it ase, the divine energy that flows through all things, not a god above you judging you from a distance, a force that moves through you, through the ground beneath your feet, through your ancestors, through the words you speak, through the community that holds you. The Akan call it Sunsum, the spirit that animates every living thing, not just humans, animals, trees, rivers, the ancestors who have crossed over but remain present, watching, guiding, holding the community accountable. Read that again. Not watching from heaven, distant and abstract, present, here, involved. The Dogon of Mali mapped astronomical knowledge that would not be confirmed by Western science until the 20th century. The binary star system of Sirius, the rings of Saturn, the 4 moons of Jupiter, and they encoded it in ritual masks and sand drawings, in dance and song, because in the African framework, knowledge was never meant to be separated from the sacred. This was not a primitive attempt at science. It was a refusal to amputate meaning from knowledge, a decision to hold astronomy and ethics and community and the divine in a single, integrated system. The West would spend the next 2,000 years separating those things. Africa never did. Now we come to the part that the missionaries found most offensive. The part they called idol worship. The part they said proved that Africans had no concept of a supreme being. The Orishas, the Vodun, the Abosom, the spirits. The first thing to understand is that these were never gods in the Western sense. They were not omnipotent beings demanding worship. They were intermediaries, forces of nature, archetypes of the human experience, channels through which the supreme creative force, called Olodumare by the Yoruba, Nyame by the Akan, Nzambe by the Congo, expressed itself in the material world. Oshun is not the goddess of the river. Oshun is the river. And also love, and also fertility, and also the sweet water that sustains life. The Orisha is not a symbol of the river. The Orisha is the river, and the river is the Orisha. And the distinction the West insists upon between the literal and the metaphorical, the physical and the spiritual, is a distinction African thought simply does not make. The second thing to understand is that this was a system of extraordinary philosophical sophistication. Ifa, the Yoruba divination system, is not fortune-telling. It is a corpus of 256 sacred verses called Odu, each one containing stories, proverbs, medical knowledge, ethical teachings, and cosmological principles. To master Ifa is to memorize and interpret thousands of verses. It takes decades. The Babalawo, the priest of Ifa, is not a witch doctor. He is a philosopher, a physician, a psychologist, and a keeper of an oral library that predates the printing press by centuries. The West looked at a divination chain and saw superstition. It did not see an ethical framework, the medical diagnostic system, the psychological counseling, and the community conflict resolution embedded in the same practice. It saw what it wanted to see. Perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of African spirituality is the worship with ancestors. The missionary saw offerings of food and drink placed at gravesites and shrines, and he called it ancestor worship, another primitive practice, another proof that Africans did not understand the true nature of God. But Africans were not worshipping the dead. They were honoring them. And the distinction is everything. In the African cosmological framework, death is not an exit from the community. It is a transition to a different state of being. The ancestors remain present. The ancestor watches. The ancestor can intervene, for good or for ill, in the lives of the living. The living, in turn, have obligations to the ancestor, to remember them, to speak their names, to maintain the moral order that the ancestor helped establish. This is not ancestor worship. This is ancestor relationship. This is the understanding that the self does not begin at birth and does not end at death, that you are connected to those who came before and those who will come after in an unbroken chain of mutual obligation. John Beatty, the Kenyan philosopher and theologian, articulated this better than anyone. He wrote, "I am because we are, and since we are, therefore I am." The individual exists only in relation to the community, and the community includes the dead, the living, and the yet to be born. The West built a philosophy of radical individualism. Africa built a philosophy of radical interconnection. And when the missionaries called African spirituality primitive, this is what they were really afraid of. A system that did not need a priest, a book, or a building to connect the human being to the divine, because the connection was already everywhere. And yet, despite centuries of missionary campaigns, despite colonial laws that criminalized African spiritual practices, despite the systematic destruction of shrines and the burning of sacred objects, despite the forced conversion of millions, African spirituality did not die. It went underground. It merged with the religions of the colonizer, producing voodoo in Haiti, candomblé in Brazil, Santeria in Cuba. The Orishas were hidden behind the faces of Catholic saints. Oshun became Our Lady of Charity. Shango became Saint Barbara. The drumming continued. The possession continued. The ancestors continued. And today, something remarkable is happening. Millions of people in Africa and across the diaspora are returning to those traditions, not as a rejection of Christianity or Islam, but as a reclaiming of what was stolen, a recognition that you cannot fully know who you are if you only know the God your colonizer gave you. This is not nostalgia. This is not mythology. This is a living tradition that survived one of the most sustained campaigns of cultural erasure in human history. The cosmology did not die. It was buried, and it is rising. There is a question the missionary never asked. Not once in 400 years of evangelism on African soil did a European missionary write home and say, "What if they already knew God? What if the people we are trying to convert had a cosmology that predates our own by thousands of years? What if the drumming we call noise is a conversation with forces older than our oldest cathedral? What if the ancestors we dismiss as superstition are more real more present, more active in the lives of their descendants than the saints we asked them to pray to instead? The question was never asked because the answer was too threatening. If Africans had sophisticated spirituality before Christianity, if they had ethical frameworks, philosophical systems, cosmological knowledge, and community practices that sustained civilizations for millennia, then the entire moral justification for the missionary project collapses. You cannot save people who were never lost. This is Africa Unframed, and we have only just begun. Episode coming in 2 weeks. We will be exploring the Kingdom of Kush, the African empire that built more pyramids than Egypt, was ruled by female kings, and defeated Rome twice. Leave a question in the comments. What spiritual tradition from your own heritage have you rediscovered? I read every comment. This channel belongs to all of us.